Sue Rendell.
Nat Turner.
Gregory Rowe.
Dorothy Cotton. Dr. Martin Luther King. My mom.
Ashe. Thank you.
What does Ashe mean?
It's like an honor and thank you. You know, like I cherish this.
So shall it be.
Yeah, it's a grace. So where do I start? I told myself I would start talking about history, but I'd like us to actually read this. Start with each other. And the reason why I have these chairs set up in black and white, it isn't specifically about today, it's just that these are kind of discussion group spaces. So you see, I want us to kind of be in groups of 3 or 4 to have a conversation that we're going to start hearing about. Well, it looks like we have enough people for about groups of 4 or 5. Okay, so I want y'all to find a group of about 4 or 5 people, and I'm going to ask y'all a question, and we're all going to kind of talk about it as different groups, and then we're going to bring that back as a larger discussion. I had a set of 3 questions I was going to ask, but I'm just going to ask one of them, so now I'm just like rock, paper, scissors myself in my head for which one I'm going to ask. Oh, yeah.
It's not drawn out.
Yeah, no. I'd like to do that after having this group discussion, but once we do that, we're going to bring it all back, and then, like the order of that, I'm just flipping it because the time changed up a little bit, but the question I'm going to ask is, what is your history of reparations? Like, what do you know about reparations? I think that's kind of a 2-part question. Like, it's a personal thing, and then it's involving the education system. Because we're going to talk about some things with the administration about education as I talk about the history of reparations. But I want to do this first, and then we can come back to it, and then once I've talked about a little bit more of the history, we can do like a secondary follow-up. All right, so break off into groups of 5 or 4. All right, just to say, I'm grateful that this reparations meeting has a lot of black faces here. I just need to say that because Ithaca. So to kind of pass it around to anyone who would like to talk about their conversations that have been had as a group or individual. If you have any like experiences from this, maybe like common threads that you'd like to talk about. Otherwise, I'll answer the two questions myself, but I'd like y'all to talk more than me.
Still running?
Okay, so my name is Mabel, and I've been in Ithaca for the majority of my 73 years. And what we came to in our group when we talked about reparations was that none of us really were taught anything about it. And then the discussion went on to recognize a common theme that we were all talking about, and that was land and the importance of land in relation to how we live. And we talked about the history of this country, of basically incarcerating Native people, anyone who looks like they differ. So we talked about Japanese, the concentration camp. We're talking about the modern day now concentration camp of Guantanamo. So we recognize the importance of land, and we recognize how we fit into the overall scheme of things that we, as citizens, are, I say members of this country, that perhaps we're overwhelmed, perhaps we're disillusioned, perhaps we feel powerless for where we are today. Thanks, Mabel.
Thank you, Mabel.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. I am just so happy because when I pulled up, I seen two cars, and I thought of last weekend when I was here, and they had a line formed outside, and it was about Black and Palestine resistance. That's another thing. But what I'm saying is, I sit here today, and we had a healthy, very good conversation. Many of us learned about it years later. We heard about the 40 acres and a mule, and that was something we heard about in school, but we never heard, some people didn't know if it happened or not, which today we know it never happened, right? And so, for me, so I learned about it growing up in Harlem somewhat, but not really. When I heard about reparations, most of the times I heard of the Japanese reparation, the Jewish reparations, who got it quite a few times, and then I heard about it, the way that they so-called indigenous reparations, how other cultures have received it, and how ours have been on hold for so long. It's sort of like a conversation that only happens in the Black kitchens, right? But when you bring it outside, many people want to ignore it, right? Why are we doing research? Period. Right? We know what reparations mean, repairing the harm done. And the harm that's been done to Black people in this country that we also built, as you most know, and still to this day, it's a hard conversation to have, right? It's painful for me to go to other events where it's standing room only, right? But when it's an issue about Black people, they don't turn out like that. So what it says to me, and I could be wrong, and you can all, or whoever, talk to me about it, but it remains that what happens to Black people in this country is still not number one. Actually, it's on the bottom. It's not number one because our allies, comrades, associates should be fighting. They want, especially all those really good doing white people, excuse me, and there's a lot of them, and I love them all, but this is their fight, right? But because we are in a society who's taught us to make sure you get yours, make sure you have yours, make sure you pass it to your family, we continue this selfishness that we've been taught, right? So for me, that's the painful part. But for me, as a black woman, as a black person, I have to fight no matter what. And so, me bringing this to me and Kayla and Jorge and Solidarity, bringing it, that was one of the first things I asked for help. How do we bring this to the council to get, and it took us a while, and we got $50,000 for research. That's a later conversation. However, it still is a conversation that should be lively and happening everywhere, and but anyway, I don't know if anybody else wants to speak, but it's really important and valuable to me. This is my last year on the council, and I want to see that $50,000 research work. But what I don't think they're going to give I want all blacks, because I believe if your ancestors was on the field or not, you've been harmed in the way that this country has chosen to treat us. So I can go on, but I'm just glad you're here. When you leave here, please tell a friend and tell a friend.
Yeah, I just thought that was a beautiful point, and something that our group was talking a lot about was land, and your point about community, I think, is so important, because what it feels like is, it's easy to ignore a community that you're eroding, and it's easy to ignore communities that are being displaced and devalued. And we were talking specifically about Cornell and how tuition is $90,000 a year. You have 25% of students who are paying full tuition, which means that their parents can afford to shell out $90,000 a year. So if their child needs to pay, $3,000, $2,500 a month in rent, that's no big deal to them. And that severely impacts the Ithaca community, because you have people that are coming in, they don't care about Ithaca, they're just here to get their Ivy League education and then leave, and the landlords are just able to get more and more egregious with the way that they price their housing. And when the university is, I might be getting my numbers wrong, but I know it's over 60% of the Ithaca economy. It is just so evil and pervasive the way that authority and power and elite is able to displace community in a way where you don't need to acknowledge it if they're not even there. If people are too far to actually access the places where they can advocate for themselves, that's what we were talking about. What I see just in the Ithaca community, as someone that is a student and is coming into Ithaca, I have always found how beautiful it is that this town values community, but it's the people that value it. And unfortunately, the individuals who are running it care about the money and care about the power. And when it comes to repairing the harm, they just cause the harm and they exacerbate it. And that's what I learned. That's what I've learned about reparations now in school, is that we were promised it and then it didn't happen. So I just thought that what's been said so far is very powerful.
Together and having these hard conversations. We just had a hard moment that took us a place that we didn't know we were going to go, but this is what talking about reparations is about. It's about unpacking a lot of really hard things. So on that note, I'm going to just answer those questions, and then talk a little bit about history, and then pass to Phoebe. So what reparations means to me, this one has to help me.
Yeah, we're talking about somebody in our group that was going to discuss what we were talking about. So I'm going to grab the mic so we can talk about whatever. I'm Kimani House, and our group basically we didn't really get anywhere, but we had and that extends well beyond financial or stuff like that, or just land. Basically, we were talking justice and equal rights and equity for all. You know what I'm saying? For everybody, especially those, the indigenous or the blacks or the people that has been through the most. And at the same time, the question is asked, are we really ready for something like that? Because look, the discussion has been made. I mean, in California, a family was given back their land that was taken from them, and the governor put reparations on the table, and they received their land back. We just witnessed here a heated discussion about reparations. It's just a balance in that we're trying to figure out as all of us, whether we're white or black. You know what I'm saying? White people, they have a thing with them that they want to talk to us. He feels like, I don't need you to talk to me because he feels wrong. But at the same time, listen, there are white people here that their ears are open. One of our peers here said, hey, we need, as white people, we need to have a discussion amongst ourselves and start listening to each other and asking ourselves, listen, what can we do to make this right? You know, what can we do to make his life better, this person's life better? Because we're all going through something. She said something, Mabel said something about a crab in the barrel thing. Well, Willie Mays created a thing, and he said that 400 years after slavery, we still have that same attitude that we want to bring each other down. We still wouldn't be able to work together, even if we was given it to them. So here we have a discussion that is very touching to everybody. And he's been persecuted. I've been persecuted before as well. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I have a history here. My mother started Juneteenth here. This community here is a real proud community. And not only the Juneteenth thing, but Wheat Street, where this church is at, we had a festival as well that my family started. It's called the Wheat Street Festival. And we had the first black newspaper called the Wheat Street Independent. And it was all because of us here.
Teach.
Their father, Miss Welch,
Yeah.
Mr. Poole, BB. My cousin Greg Rowe was the editor and the author of this thing, the Wheat Street Independent. I mean, as far as reparations go, I don't think right now there's a thing, all we can do is just continue to brainstorm, because there's not a number or anything, because there's people here that's not, maybe not, they're not from Africa, but we're black, and we was born here. I'm not no African, I'm a black American, but do I not deserve what they had? Because, listen, we were enslaved before the Africans was brought here. The indigenous, we were indigenous. The Geechee Gunners, they didn't migrate north, they migrated further south and became the Seminole Indians. They were black Indians that migrated from here to Mexico. So are we really ready for that? I mean, we got a lot of discussing to do. So if it gets heated, then so be it. But let's get over it, because that's the only way we're going to move. Right? That's my opinion.
Oh, man.
Hell yeah. Pardon my French.
Anything else?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Our group, we all came to an agreement that we're all here to learn, and it's great to see that that's the common theme across the room. A lot of us are still searching for knowledge on reparations. My experience as a young girl around reparations was going to the British museums and seeing the Benin artifacts there, and the British government's refusal to return it. As a young girl, I was astounded, like, why would someone come into your house, take something, and refuse to return it? And I started the conversations around reparations. I started to do some research, and when Miss Phoebe reached out to me, one of my girlfriends in Evanston, they have their community that has actually done work on reparations. Like, I can get you connected to them because it is meaningful conversation. Everyone should know about reparations. about what it means to repair it, right? And why it's so difficult to even start the conversation or even say sorry. Why? You know? And a lot of things, we came to a conclusion that it's opening up Pandora's box. And in opening up Pandora's box, we all collectively have a role to play. And as we can see in how the conversation has transcended, right? There is so much emotions to having the conversation, and everybody has ownership and partnership in how we're going to get to the finish line. We have to get there to move forward. And I'm glad that Ithaca as a community is having that conversation.
That's our Human Rights Director for the city, Kim.
Yeah, I just want to say that this whole conversation made me reflect on why we call our ancestors into the space when we started this meeting, because why is it not good enough for them? We read about them in books, we put the book back on the shelf. But for them, building the movement and fighting for freedom, they didn't have a choice. It had to be primary for them. And they had to put other things aside and fight for freedom and fight for the movement. So it's about calling them in and giving them respect, but it's also a responsibility to them to continue their work and remember the spirit that they had when they built the movement that they built, and that it's our legacy now. It's up to us to continue that, and that's our responsibility.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, I guess I'll start with what reparations means to me. Personally, when y'all said justice, that was it for me. That's what it started like. The concept of reparations is justice, but justice by way of land, because in this country, just to kind of meld the two questions together, post-slavery, a lot of people think 1865, Juneteenth, everything was kind of set forward towards freedom, but it was kind of the opposite. Vagrancy laws were set in place where if you were found without a job or without land, and you were black, you were thrown into the prison system. So it was just a revolving door of you aren't a slave anymore, but we're going to put you in a system of slavery that that's constantly happening. Still happening today. And the consequences of that, the first name that I said, Robert Brooks, right at Marcy Correctional. I don't know if y'all watched the video, but police murdering a man. That ain't right. And that's not why I'm here right now, but I promise you, there are more things like that happening all over this country. And there's going to be more and more happening, more and more, as this administration goes forward, criminalizing people, criminalizing immigrants, criminalizing people that look a certain way. It's going to be more and more of that. And less body cam footage, because they're going to be hiding it away. But that's not even a separate conversation, but that's a different conversation from what we're having right now. But my point is that policing and incarceration, there are all these loopholes that kind of get black people of color back into the criminalization, right? Get back into this hole. And there's a whole thing that goes with that, which is the education that people receive about black people, right? There was a time where you would turn on a TV network and there's the newsreel, this person was caught, da-da-da-da. It's such a basic, primitive form of programming where the only black faces you see are the criminals, right? So it starts on like basic stuff like that you might not even notice. But then it expands to someone on a stage talking, like winking, basically winking to everyone that we're going to get these immigrants out. We're going to get these dangerous people out. And that person becoming president and then wiping out the Department of Education. Right, there are steps to this, and you see it. As the education runs down to basically the Red Scare level education, where your education stops at communism bad, Marxism bad, right? And it's just this, again, this revolving door of education becoming, well, not weaponized, but the removal of education weaponizing people against us, right? Black people are dangerous. Black people are this other, that we haven't even learned about black culture. But I see a lot of people here, a lot of white people here sitting in here, and have come through Southside before. Y'all are getting educated. I hope on a regular basis. Right? And I hope that that's something that's happening more and more in Ithaca, and being part of the reparations conversation is that, right? Reparations is justice. It's education justice. It's teaching people what they needed to be taught a long time ago. Not necessarily in a violent way, but in an educational way, right? I'm not up here a professor or anything. My parents were professors. That's probably why I have so much to say. But I'm here trying to learn from y'all as much as y'all are learning from me. And we're having some hard conversations here and there, but we're also doing a space of black joy. And part of why I put on the Reparations Town Hall is because I started working here at Southside, and I realized the privilege that I have as a black man to be wallowing in black joy. There's some black children in this country that don't even know about black joy, you know? Like, there's some black kids.
You feeling it, huh, bro, man? I get you, man. Yeah. Take your time, man.
Looking for the credit. So I used to work for a 501c3 called Voices of African Mothers. Really amazing program. The person who ran the program, Nafusu Rendon, one of the most amazing people in the world. And I tell you, she would sit in this room, and y'all would all be family to her. And she passed away. But one of the legacies that she left on me was that it was really important to not hold anything against anybody, you know what I mean? Like, I used to be a really vengeful person, kind of like white people. I basically was like, I'm not gonna have conversations with white people, fuck them. That was after Cornell, of course, because Cornell really choked the black love, like the black life out of me. But when I went to Ghana, thanks to this program, I got to meet these children who they didn't have anything that we have here, but they had black joy. Like they woke up in the morning with black joy. 5:30 in the morning, you felt that black joy. I mean, on my way back into Ithaca, like I was like, I didn't understand it. I was like, why was I so happy over there? I didn't understand it at the time. I was like, why was I so happy over there? What's going on? And then as soon as I got back into town, I was riding past I was on the bus and I was going past this frat house. And there was this one black boy with this whole group of white people. And they were all chanting. I don't even know what they were chanting, but he was clearly uncomfortable. I could see that from the fucking bus. That he was uncomfortable and something was happening. I was like, oh, that's it. That's why, I couldn't feel that black joy. So, I'm here at Southside to try and share that with everybody. And just for people to understand that, not just people that look like me, I want everyone to understand black joy. That's critical to me. And I think reparations as justice, that's the key, right? You can't stuff down the joy I'm trying to find the words for what I'm trying to say, but you can't, when we have this conversation, you can't stuff down the black joy that comes from us. Like, you can't stuff the black dialogue that comes from us. You can be a part of it. And that's why I think it has to come from all of us. Just to talk a little bit about the history, but I want to get to Phoebe next, because I've been talking for like 10 minutes, telling our story. God.
I appreciate it. That's beautiful.
Keep on.
I appreciate it. Take your time.
Is because of my family history. Patrice Lumumba, he was trying to fix all of the Congo. He was focused on Pan-Africanism, changing the way that the country was governed after colonialism, after the Dutch, after the Belgians, after the British, fucked that continent up and continued to. And he was killed for it. There was no, you can say that there was the Red Scare, they were afraid of communism, but he was killed for African independence. And thinking about that, I didn't learn that in school. I learned that because my parents taught that to me. And I was so grateful for that. And I also had a professor, a teacher, Mr. Alvarez. I don't know if y'all know that name. I don't know if he still works there, but he was one of the teachers who he was one of the teachers who saw that I was educated and wanted more of an education beyond the regions. And he was like, wow, Patrice Lumumba, let's talk about that as a class. And our whole classroom started that conversation, right? That was a conversation that might not have happened if someone else
Moving
had
away.
been standing so close to there.
Yeah, just move away.
Probably a little better. So it took a whole conversation with this person I didn't think I was ever going to connect with, some history professor, and he was like, he was real interested in what I had to say, and he made other people interested in what I had to say too, and what he had to say and what was actually going on in the world. And that whole classroom, I think every single person in that classroom that learned about Congo,
Yeah, I'm gonna take it all. Go ahead.
okay, yeah,
Go ahead.
that is because of my family history. Patrice Lumumba, he was trying to fix all of the Congo. He was focused on Pan-Africanism, changing the way that the country was governed after colonialism, after the Dutch, after the Belgians, after the British, fucked that continent up and continued to. And he was killed for it. There was no, you can say that there was the Red Scare, they were afraid of communism, but he was killed for African independence. And thinking about that, I didn't learn that in school. I learned that because my parents taught that to me. And I was so grateful for that. And I also had a professor, a teacher, Mr. Alvarez. I don't know if y'all know that name. I don't know if he still works there, but he was one of the teachers who one of the teachers who saw that I was educated and want more of an education beyond the Regents. And he was like, wow, you know Patrice Lumumba? Let's talk about that as a class. And our whole classroom started that conversation, right? That was a conversation that might not have happened if someone else
Move it
had been
away.
standing so close to there.
Yeah, move away.
Okay, that's probably a little better. So it took a whole conversation with this person I didn't think I was ever going to connect with, some history professor, and he was like, sorry. He was real interested in what I had to say, and he made other people interested in what I had to say too, and what he had to say and what was actually going on in the world. And that whole classroom, I think every single person in that classroom that learned about Congo,
Yeah, I'm gonna take it all. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead,
yeah, that's
go ahead, go ahead.
that might be a hard conversation. Might be some snot involved. Some blood. Yeah. But that's how we grow. So I'd like to pass it to Miss Phoebe, but before we actually do that, we actually have something for Miss Phoebe here. Gladys Britton from Business Leaders of Color. Business Leaders of Color.
I did not expect that.
That's how you surprise people, by not telling them stuff.
I'm truly surprised. I thought I was gotta get.
Thank you for giving me time here today. Business Leaders of Colors, my name is Gladys Brangman, and we have an award for Phoebe Brown. Phoebe Brown is a longtime community activist in Ithaca. Of course, we all know this, and one of the founders of Mutual Aid Tompkins. She currently serves as the Central Regional Coordinator for Alliance for Families for Justice, where she supports, empowers, and mobilizes families of incarcerated people and people with criminal records to marshal their voting power and advocacy skills for systemic change. Phoebe has lived in Ithaca for over 25 years, coming from Harlem, where she gained a deep understanding of mutual aid, strong relationships, and community support systems that invariably find that high-rise luxury apartments are the answer to every city's problems. Since then, Phoebe has worked ceaselessly to secure access to resources for marginalized communities and to create a resilient Ithaca that prioritizes strong relationships and healthy neighborhoods. Phoebe has been one among the most active organizers in Ithaca and is deeply committed to giving voice to those who are usually left out of the political process or ignored during conversations about economic development. She has worked directly with many local institutions and organizations over the years, including the Ithaca City School District, Hugo Medical Center, Southside Community Center, Get Your Greenback Tompkins, Building Bridges, Bike Walk Tompkins, the Multicultural Resource Center, BOCES, and the Crisis Hostel Project, among others. And even with all of this, she still says that her biggest accomplishment is being a mother to 3 and a grandmother to 8. In Phoebe's own words, I want to be a person who represents a population of people who have been through some of the life changes that I've gone through. I want to encourage seniors, young Black and brown people, LGBTQ people, and you know, whatever happens in your life, that should not limit you from wanting
to be the voice of the unheard. Phoebe Brown, it is an honor to award you with Business Leaders of Color's 2025 Social Justice Leader Award.
Now,
Crying is good.
first of all, I want to say I am truly surprised, right? You know, everything happens when it's supposed to. There's a lot going on in my life, right? That's been sad, uncomfortable, and just being a part of watching what's happening. I should know something was up. My son's here. Well, I had no idea. I thought he came for the conversation. First off, I want to apologize to Ira.
I'm sitting right in front of you.
I apologize. I was wrong. I didn't let you finish. And I got stuck. I truly apologize. I want to thank you for reminding me that we're in a space where we feel safe, and when we are, we need to share. So thank you. Thank you, and I hope, and I'm sure we heard you. And we never want you to feel disrespected or alone in this community. And we'll get together. I just want to say thank you for this award. This means a lot to me, because a lot of days, I kid you not, I don't feel valued all the time. That has nothing to do with y'all. That has a lot to do with me. And someone told me to dress up today, right? Because I had no plan. I was going to put on my little hoodie and stuff like that. But something in me said, because this is how I feel today, let your outside match your inside. Because if, with all that I've been going through, today was one of them days that I really feel good about me, right? You know, because I was hesitating about coming today, right? Because I get in my head a lot. However, I watch the work that Lumumba, Lumumba is someone who works with me, but that's also Lashima's name. I'm so grateful to this community. I moved to Ithaca over 30-something years ago because I was running away from my disease of addiction. But what I did learn coming here is wherever I go, I take me. And it was, you know, and the drugs I was running from, I found some here, right? But I was able to realize this is the place that I was supposed to heal. So now I've been clean. Actually, I just celebrated 29 years. And I'm not keep it, you know, but I'm really grateful to this community. So grateful to this community. You know, there was times I was like, wow, I wish I could stay in Harlem to give them back this, but no, my ancestors said I was supposed to be here. This was the very first place that I got a job. My very first place was working here at Southside Community Center. I was welcome, I was loved, and that love feeling you talk about. And Tony Poole at the time was our director. And it was, just such a beautiful experience, but not just that. When you walked outside, this was the Black community, right? Your mom, Lila House, I knew nothing. I came from Harlem, knew nothing about Juneteenth. That was one of the best experiences ever. It was fashion show. It was a beautiful thing. And then outside, when you went out, you seen people who looked like you. Across the street, I mean, it was going on. It was like They used to call it Little Harlem. I'll get away from that. But anyway, what I am today right now is just very, 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 very extremely jealous. Oh my gosh. Like, I wasn't expecting this. And sometimes because I don't have a education through one of these high colleges, but I do have a PhD in streetology. Right? So I got my certificate on LA, Lenox Avenue, 7th Avenue, Adam Clare. But anyway, I'm just really glad to be here, and I'm really, really glad that I can represent someone who knows what it is to struggle, to get to a place, to get love unconditionally. Like, you know, I just want you to know one thing, and I want everybody to know. When I came to Ithaca, my Muslim friend invited me to Ithaca. I don't know what she was talking about, but I was deeply, deeply engrossed in my addiction and wanted to be a mom to my children. But I came here with my daughter. When I got to my friend's house, I came with 2 black garbage bags, right? And I opened them and they were dirty clothes, right? I say that just to say, like, I came from that place and I needed to be in that place, to be in the place where I am today. Getting awards, wow, that's deep, right? That's deep. But the piece, like I always say, is the best piece is that, like I am, my greatest job is my children and my grandchildren and my great-grand. But the best piece is being able to go to sleep some nights and be glad of what I represented for that day, right? I know, like I always tell y'all, do not get me on a mic in front of more than 5 people. It's hard to get me off because I like attention. I'm the middle child of the middle child. It was 7 of us, I was in the middle, and then there was 3 girls, I was in the middle, and it was hard to get attention. So now when I get it, I hog it. But I'm not gonna go on with that. So, we worked real hard to get this $50,000 for research. And where we're at right now is we will be putting together a working group. The working group will consist of community members, council members, and what we'll come together is create a RFP. That's what it's called. And then that person, and from that we'll try to get someone, and we've been asking, so if you know of anybody who wants to do this research, the research will guide us in what our next steps are, right? So we will need input, and this is why we've been doing this, right? And so I heard from Lashima, I said it right, and just the love in this room, right? So it got me past worrying, thank you for not comparing. Who came in, didn't come here. Everybody in this room is supposed to be here today, right? And so thank you. And I'm so glad that I dressed up.
Phoebe, put up the power sign, like the statue. Put it there. You go.
I'm not sure I agree with you because I thought you're the only person I know who dresses up every day.
All right, the next step here is I'm going to actually get a sign up for y'all if you're interested in being involved in this proposal. You could also, when you do the sign-in, there's an option for other, and you could say Reparations, and then I'll know, like there's a system, I'll know that your name is signed up for that.
Can you explain to them what RFP, because some people, especially community members, may not know.
Oh, yeah, so an RFP is a request for proposal. So as we draft our amendment for a reparations study, The amendment is for $50,000. It's put in restricted contingency, and that means that the Common Council needs to get a plan that they will vote on, and then once that plan is approved by Common Council, the money will be released for a study. And so an RFP needs to go out, a request for proposal, where we will say this is what we're hoping to get out of a study for reparations. And I think especially after the conversations that were had here, it's really important, to Ms. Phoebe's point, that we've been having this conversation for a long time. We know that systemic racism is permeated throughout Ithaca historically and currently. And so that is one element of this. But the other element of this study is going to be concrete policy recommendations. How do we, once we have proof on paper about what this has looked like, how do we redress it? How do we address it? And so the study that we come up with common counselors and community members in this working group, that proposal is what will be going out to people who will be interested in conducting the study.
So is it a 1-year study, 2-year study? Or?
That's going to be up for the working group.
Okay.
It's going to be $50,000. It's possible that we could, if we do this, if we have to get more money to do this, we can do that, but it's all going to be about organizing to get that done. And so the first step is this working group of community members. So if you're interested, or if you know people who are interested, start getting together and start reaching out to Common Council, being like, we know you guys, the mayor, when this was voted, Mayor Cantelmo said that he's going to be putting together a working group for community members and common councilors. I know they're probably in the process of looking out for those people who are interested, so if you're interested, start reaching out, and we can help with that for sure.
Wow.
And you might have to stand up.
So the money is for the research, right? So, yeah. I just wanted to mention one more thing, because we did mention Robert Brooks. I'd like us to just take a moment of silence for him and his family. And also let the community know that Southside will be hosting an event, a town hall for Robert Brooks here. We're not sure of the date, either the 23rd of this month or the 8th of March. However, we're partnering with United Black Caucus in New York City, and who's been working very closely with Robert Brooks' family. So hopefully they will be attending, and some other organizations throughout the state here at Southside Community Center. And we're calling it Ending Modern Day Lynching and Justice for Robert Brooks. So I'll make sure that we send out invites and get the community involved.
2 announcements, but I don't know that I thoroughly introduced myself for folks who don't know. I wear multiple head wraps in this community. I'm a professor at Ithaca College in the Department of Education and board president here at Southside. And then we run a performing arts program here in the summer called COMEP. Yeah. So, and our glorious videographer, there's all kinds of folks in the space who we work together to make that happen. So the announcement is that on February 19th at the State Theater, I'm offering a performance workshop. So you get to learn about the curriculum of COMEP, which is deeply invested in joy and teaching the story of Southside Community Center. So it's called the COMEP curriculum, Greetings, Rituals, and Teaching Black Consciousness. So that's at the State Theater, and then there's a virtual version as well. So I have a bunch of these that I can pass out for folks who are interested. The other major announcement is that Eve Ewing has a new book coming out on Tuesday. If you don't know Eve Ewing, look her up for sure. But I think this is our next piece. As a community, years ago we had a larger community read. Remember, it was the Dr. King book? Who was here for that? And we had copies of these all over.
Where do we go from
Ithaca? Yes. Where do we go from here? And then it was pretty big when we had Dr. Bettina Love here, and we had her come to Southside and Buffalo Street Books. We get Ithaca College, pay for some books, Cornell, all of that. But it comes out on Tuesday. Luckily, I have a beautiful relationship with Lisa at Buffalo Street Books, so she got me a copy. I'm on chapter 2. This is the book for us. Original Sins, the miseducation of Black and Native children and the construction of American racism.
Wow.
This is the next piece. Anyway, so that was the other announcement. Thank you.